morning, all. Welcome to worship. We are glad that you're here. Whether you're here in Unity Hall, whether you're joining us in the online pews, know that your presence here makes a difference and that you make this community what it is. Thank you for being here. Welcome to All Souls.
Where all souls are welcome.
I invite you to stand in body and or spirit, and we'll join in singing the first hymn, which is O Life That Maketh All Things New.
Each Sunday here at All Souls, it's our custom to greet each other warmly, rather warmly, I might add. And first I'd like to ask if there's anyone visiting for the first time in the online pews, just let us know in the chat. And here, if there's anyone in Unity Hall, if you don't feel too uncomfortable doing so, just raise your hand so that we can extend our welcome. All right. So here in Unity Hall, let's turn and wave to our people in the online pews. We're glad that you are with us today. And now, make a joyful noise as we pass the peace together.
Good morning.
Morning.
We acknowledge the Nahantic, Mohegan, Mashantucket Pequot, and Eastern Pequot people as the traditional caretakers of the land on which we worship. We honor and pay respect to these tribes, their ancestors, and their lineage who today uphold traditional practices, art, and education. Each week, we light the chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, a symbol of freedom and justice and love. And this morning, I'd like to invite up Dargiana to light the chalice. And as Dargiana lights the chalice, we say these words together. We are all capable in different ways, with various strengths and talents. We are all holy, part of the universe and the interdependent web. We light this chalice, cherishing our differences and holding each other in sacredness. We also each week light a candle of peace. And yesterday, as we look at cherishing our differences, yesterday was the 54th anniversary of the violence at Kent State during those Vietnam protests. And of course, as we think back on that anniversary, we think of the campus unrest today. And the violence and the differences that we're trying to embrace, and that freedom of speech that we so delicately hold on to. We think of the devastation that can come from those tensions between protest and freedom and unrest. The Pulitzer Prize Board issued a statement Thursday recognizing the tireless efforts of student journalists across the country who have covered the campus protests at great personal and academic risk to themselves, those covering what's happening, speaking out. At the same time, as we got the news today that Israel is closing the offices of Al Jazeera in Israel. We hold all of those tensions and hope for peace. Peace in the Middle East, peace at home, a lasting peace that will make all of this and all those voices unnecessary in regard to that tension. May it be so. The theme of I'd like to invite the children to come forward if they'd like to be close to the story. You don't have to. If you're feeling shy, you can stay in your seat or you can come up. Our theme of the month is interdependence. And today, we're thinking about interdependence in nature, interdependence with each other, and our story is all about that. It's Bear's story, but it's more than Bear's story.
Once there was a river that flowed night and day.
But it didn't know it was a river
Until
Bear came along.
Bear was just being curious when he realized what the river could do.
But he didn't know he was on an adventure
Until
Froggy hopped on.
Froggy was a lonely frog who was looking for a friend. But she didn't know how many she had.
Until
the turtles showed up.
the turtles tried to warn them about things that could go wrong. But they didn't know how to enjoy the ride.
Until
Beaver climbed aboard.
Beaver was born to captain. He knew exactly where to go. But he didn't know about the detours.
Until
The raccoons dropped in.
the raccoons were so excited about the twists and the turns they had, but they did not know they had to be careful.
Until
They crashed into Duck.
Duck was so content being right where she was, but she didn't know there was a world to see. Until
Bear held on to Froggy.
Froggy held on to Turtles.
turtles held on to Beaver.
Beaver held on to Raccoon.
Raccoons held on to Duck.
Oh, what a ride.
So many different animals.
Living their separate lives
But they didn't know they were in it together
Until the river came along.
the
end.
So we are going to flow right out of here and figure out more about our interdependence in faith formation while you discuss that here. If you could sing us out with Trees of the Field, that would be wonderful.
The field will clap their hands. All the trees of the field will clap their hands. Trees of the field will clap their hands. Trees of the field will clap their hands. We'll go out with joy.
An integral part of true interdependent community is bearing witness to one another's lives. The joys and the sorrows, the griefs and the celebrations. And these can be shared in 3 different ways. If you're in the online pews, you can write in the YouTube chat what you would like to have shared here in worship. And those of you in Unity Hall, you can also write in this book, which is in the lobby, which sits in the lobby. And everyone can email belovedcommunity@allsouls.net. And now those here in Unity Hall, you're invited to come forward as you're so moved to light a candle of intention. And if those at the front of the line would please move up and light the candles towards the end here so that the line can flow. Friends, the circle is open. Your joy, your sorrow, all is welcome here.
Hi, Melody. Hey, Vic. Morning. Good, Judy. See you tomorrow. You look good today.
Everybody does.
Hi.
We share the news that Eve Chapin, beloved member of All Souls, died last Tuesday following a stroke. She and her husband Dick joined All Souls in 2006. And there will be a service for Eve Saturday, May 18th at Stoneridge, at her community in Stoneridge, from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. We are holding Eve's family and all who loved her in our hearts. And from the Grey Book, from Anna Sussler, happy Cinco de Mayo. And Anna's thinking of Nina, Pinta, and Santa Maria. And I am having a little difficulty getting a hold of the live chat here. I'm on the video, but I can't get the chat. Thank you, Adam. First of all, I want to say gratitude for Adam. From Kyle, my roommate Andrew celebrated his first year of sobriety this week. Blessings on Andrew. Carol Bunting says, Bob and I enjoying an awesome weekend with family in Albuquerque. That's wonderful, Carol and Bob. From Grace Panko, prayers that all of us at St. Francis House may find new homes. Prayers for you, Grace, and for all at St. Francis House in the St. Francis House community. Glenna says, courage, and congratulations to Andrew, Kyle's friend. Sandy says, grateful for the nest and baby birds and their parent in a decorative hat on her front door. Mm-hmm. How beautiful, Sandy. Reminders of new life. And from Karen, Ether Waring, gratitude for the amazing team of Italian sisters who created a delicious and joyful gathering last night. Amen. Amen. How wonderful. And from beloved community at All Souls, from Peter Cooper, who regrets that he lives too far away to be here in person. But he says, as I move through this part of my life, I find the weekly sermons and presence of the congregation a large part of my appreciation of life and my children, even if they are busy caring for and raising their children. He says, I love you all and miss your welcoming embrace. We miss you also, Peter. Let us hold everything that has been shared as we enter into our time of communion and meditation, followed by a little silence and then Bill's musical meditation. Source of life, source of connection. In this sacred sharing of joys and sorrows, concerns and celebration, may we be reminded of our deep connections to one another and to all existence, that we are bound together in this ride along the river of life. We acknowledge the loss, grief, illness, and struggle of all kinds that weigh in our hearts. May our love and care rest with those who need it today. We lift up the joys and celebrations present. May we find delight in these moments and occasions of love and connection. We lift up our world, our concerns for justice, equality, and peace. May we have the courage to continue working for positive transformation. Amen.
We come from the fire, living in the fire. Go back to the fire, turn the world around.
Fire, living in the fire. Go back to the fire, turn the world around.
Living in, we come from the water, living in the water. Go back to the water, turn the world around.
We come from the water, living in the water. Go back to the water, turn the world around.
We come through the mountain, living on the mountain. Go back to the mountain, turn the world around.
We come from the mountain, living on the mountain. Go back to the mountain, turn the world around. Oh, so is life. Oh, so is life. Oh, so is life. Oh, so is life.
Do you know who I am?
Who I am?
Do you know who you are? See, we one another clearly. Do we know who we are? Do we know who I am? Do I know who you are? See, we one another clearly. See, we one another clearly. Who we are?
Oh, so is life. So is life. Oh, so is life. So is life.
mountain. Fire make the sunlight turn the world around. Heart is of the river, body is the mountain. Spirit is the sunlight, turn the world around. We are of the Spirit, truly of the Spirit. Only can the Spirit turn the world around. Spirit, truly of the Spirit. Only can the Spirit turn the world around. Whoa, so is life. Ah, so is life. Whoa, so is life. Ah, so is life. Whoa, so is life. Ah, so is life. Whoa, so is life. Ah, so is life.
Well, thank you, Bill and choir and Harry. The title of the reading and of our service this morning is Shameless Reliance Over Solitary Persistence by Kelly Witchin. A few weeks ago, on my way to meet a friend for dinner, I noticed a group of birds in the sky. They flew in formation, but suddenly broke rank, clustered, and reformed their V formation from new positions. I was struck by their inherent reliance on one another. For them, reliance was not optional. It was an understood necessity. There is beauty in our limitations. Why then do we continue to lean into gust after gust alone? Exhausted and frazzled, we race against each other as sprinters that must stay within their separate lane. Even among family and friends, so many of us think that we have to be that bird in the front of the V. We don't know how to take a break. Overwhelmed with thoughts like, well, I'll be a burden or I'll be a failure. The poet Renee Marie Rilke describes it as such. We are not in balance, not in agreement, as migrating birds are. Late and overtaken, we hurriedly try to catch the wind and fall into a random swap. A couple days later, I read an article about why birds fly in V formations. Two parts stayed with me. First, the birds flew in optimal position, gaining lift from the bird in front of them by remaining close to the wingtip. Second, the birds also timed their wing beats to perfectly match the good air coming off the bird in front. We must learn what the birds already know. Admittedly, we can't do it all alone. And leaning on those around us is not a weakness. It's restoration. So, fall back when you need to. As Rilke describes it, if you falsify your endurance, you'll only fall from the sky. And if you find people that beat with a similar rhythm, keep them close. End of reading.
interdependence is the state of being dependent on one another. It's a mutual relationship. I'm dependent on you, you're dependent on me. Interdependence is an absolutely natural thing. It has been happening pretty much forever. Nature does it all on her own. Interdependence is a fundamental part of what life means and how life continues. Bees and flowers have been evolving together for literally millions of years. Bees get their food from the nectar of the flowers, and plants, as we know, can't move, so the bees carry the pollen from the plants and allow cross-pollination. In forests have been called cathedrals of interdependence. There are networks of mycorrhizal fungi networking together with roots from the trees, which help them absorb water and nutrients from the soil. There are so many examples. Rhinoceroses and little oxpecker birds, which sit on top of the rhinos. The rhinos have bugs on them that irritate them, and the little birds peck off the bugs and get fed. And also, the oxpeckers, they are able to look out from a distance. The rhinos don't have such great vision, and the oxpeckers are able to warn the rhinos if there's harm coming along. And then this example, peonies, which we soon will be graced with. Have you ever seen ants on your peony buds and you think, oh no? Well, apparently it's a good thing. The peonies produce nectar, which provide food for the ants, and the ants prevent harmful insects from landing on those buds before they open. Life is just full of examples of interdependence. And of course, when we look at Mother Nature's examples of interdependence, we humans are messing with interdependence in big times with climate change. As humans, we often get the arrogant idea that we can ignore those beautifully interdependent systems, but that's not the case. We have a hubris that we as humanity can tend towards that rugged individualism without due regards to the rest of creation. But here's the truth. If human beings and all animals with a backbone, all the vertebrates, were to disappear overnight, the rest of the world would continue pretty well, thank you very much. But if the invertebrates were to disappear, including the insects, pretty much all of the world's ecosystems would collapse. So nature, in all of our beauty and diversity, really shows how interdependence works. Interdependence is a very basic part of life, very fundamental, and at the same time, interdependence points us in a transcendent direction. Interdependence inspires us, inspires awe in us. Interdependence forms real beauty that we can appreciate. Back in the 1800s, John Muir, transcendentalist, hiking in Yosemite, he was moved to say, "When we try to pick out anything by itself, we find it hitched to everything else in the universe. One fancies a heart like our own must be beating in every crystal and cell, and we feel like stopping to speak to the plants and animals as friendly fellow mountaineers. A more recently discovered example of awesome interdependence is our very own microbiome. Who knew? Each one of us and every other animal is home to millions and millions of bacteria inside us, which help build our bodies, and they protect us, they heal us, and any number of functions being further elucidated every day. Ed Yong, author of I Contain Multitudes, The Microbes Within Us and a Grander View of Life, says that we are not so much individuals as interconnected, interdependent multitudes. Nature demonstrates that the best way to live is by a robust and creative interdependence. We as humans, with our own volition and agency, have a lot of potential and power for creating interdependent systems as we live in community or not. Congregational life itself is an experiment in interdependency, you might say. And that interdependency can be truly inspiring. The shared life, the giving and receiving, that shared experience of the fullness of life. If we ask what is the opposite of interdependence, we're given further clues as to why interdependence is such a good thing. The opposite of interdependence, at one end, you might have independence, which is that rugged individualism that's so ingrained in Western culture. And in that rugged individualism, there's really not much of any kind of relationship. And then at the other end of the spectrum, there's dependence, complete dependence. And in completely dependent relationships, some members are dependent, while some are not. And if we're totally dependent, we might believe that we might not be able to achieve our own goals on our own. And then there's, somewhere in the middle of that spectrum, there's codependence, where there's a sense that we have to help others achieve their goals before we can go after what's important to ourselves. So compare truly interdependent relationships with the opposite of that, independence, dependence, complete dependence, codependence. Whereas in interdependent relationships, the dependency, the support, and the gains, the benefits are shared for everybody's enrichment. Beans and Company coffee shop in Simsbury is interdependence at its very best. A couple of weeks ago, I went to this coffee shop for the first time, which describes itself as an inclusive coffee cafe. It employs people with and without disabilities. And the very first thing that I noticed, I was going to meet a friend, the first thing I noticed was everyone who works there wears t-shirts that say, "Everyone belongs." And I was served by Meg Morrison, a young adult who has Down syndrome. The cafe was started by Meg's mom and another mom because they recognized the need. And the owners say, we all share the same roles, we all help each other, we all value one another. We believe it's the way the world should be. Meg has had a tracheotomy after complications with surgery, and she can't speak. So as she was at the register taking my order, she held up one of those little table markers with a card in it, with a little sign that said name, ? And Meg is, she works in the coffee shop, and she's a very enthusiastic, very active, one of those very active Peloton people. She does very many Peloton classes. Me, once during the pandemic, I tried Peloton. I thought it would be a good idea. And I made it, I did make it through one class, and I think I made it like 2/3 of the way through the second class. So I am, Peloton's not for me. I'm about as likely to finish a Peloton class as run a marathon. But Meg, she is very involved. She's so involved that she was recently invited to New York to meet Matti Maggiacomo, one of her favorite teachers, one of the Peloton teachers. And Meg's zest for life just shines through like a bright light. Beans and Company Coffee Shop is interdependence at its very best. As the owners say, it enriches life every day, and we're all the better for it. Differences enrich life every day. Differences, diversity in ability, gender, race, mental health, age, sexual orientation, all manner of things. Like at least 20% of the population, I am neurodivergent. I have ADHD, which is very poorly named. It's not actually a deficit of attention, it's too much attention. You notice every single thing, which is great sometimes, and it's really terrible at other times. Fairly recently diagnosed, I realize the masking that I've been doing a lot of my life, trying to be someone that I'm not really, and also experiencing the relief and the joy and the discombobulation of being who I really am. In our story for all ages, there were all sorts of differences mentioned, and I wonder who you might resonate with. Bear, I can resonate with. Bear, who's curious, which is great, but sometimes leads him to be impulsive. What about Beaver? Beaver is very reliable, but a little inflexible. Or the raccoons. The raccoons get very excited, but they're a little foolhardy. I have to say I'm a bit of a bear, and I know others would agree. The author, Richard Morris, who wrote The Story for All Ages, says this: "As a parent, I learned pretty quickly that kids are born with inherent personalities. We do our best to guide them, but distinctive characteristics define who they are. All these diverse personalities go out into the world and balance one another. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is to embrace the other, especially when the other is so different. But it is through this connection that we truly discover our best selves, our strengths, our weaknesses, our fears, our courage. Interdependence is how we learn who we are and how to be in the world. As you might expect, science has shown what we really know to be true spiritually, what we've known all along, that ecosystems, which is really just another word for community, that ecosystems, whether they be a forest or a square foot of soil or a garden or a coffee shop or a congregation, Those ecosystems with the highest degree of interdependence have the highest level of biodiversity. What a difference it can make to our kids, to one another, to our communities when we embrace the differences. It's truly strengthens our community in every way. Bears, beavers, raccoons, join this ride with one another and the river. What a ride it is. Amen. I invite you into a moment of silence.
Please join me in saying these words as we prepare for the offering. We give to the work of All Souls. Our work weaves the fabric of love called community. To this end, we dedicate ourselves in this our offering. This offering will be gratefully received. For all you have shared and all you have sacrificed, thank you. Now I invite you to stand and join in our closing hymn, which is When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every caller, every creed, one kind, they will see their faces in each other's eyes, and our heart is grace, when our heart is in a holy place. We are blessed with love and amazing grace, when our heart is in a holy place. We share the silence of sacred space, and the spirit of love stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, and our heart is in a holy place. And our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place. We are blessed with love and amazing grace, when our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place.
Here in Unity Hall, if you'd like to reach out to the wider world, and in the online pews, hand on heart, hand reaching to the community beyond the screen, we're going to do a little variation on metta practice. You can close your eyes if you would like to. Bring to mind someone here in Unity Hall or online, and repeat after me. May you be happy.
Be happy.
May you be well.
May you be well.
May you be at peace.
May you be at peace.
Bring to mind yourself. May I be happy.
May I be happy.
May I be well.
May I be well.
May I be at peace.
May I be free.
And bring to mind all in the interdependent web of the world. May they be happy.
May we be happy.
May they be well.
May they be well.
May they be at peace.
May they be at peace.
May it be so.
May it be so.
Please be seated for the postlude. Please join me in the words for extinguishing the chalice. Our worship has ended, but our service is not yet done. May our spirits be renewed and our purpose resolved
as we meet the challenges of the week. Our chalice flame is extinguished until once again united by the strength of
our communion.
We want the postlude and then.
Let's do the announcements.
Okay.
Thank you.
There are announcements here. There's so many pages. There we go. 2 weeks from today, right after the service, is our annual meeting, and urge you all to attend. There will be childcare available. If you're new to All Souls and want to know a little more about us and our faith, please stop by the welcome table, and not only somebody, but Lynn will be over there, the one with the waving hand, and she'd be glad to greet you and answer any questions that you may have. A number of things happening after the service here today. The drop-in sharing circle is going to be in the Ackerman room. The UU Art Collaborative is in the Vail Library. And the All Souls Young Adult Group is meeting in the Nash room. The Young Adult group is for those 18 to 35, meeting for conversation and pizza. There will be a Death Cafe coming up this Thursday at 2 p.m. It's a gentle space in which you can gather, share some refreshments, and share thoughts around mortality. Next week will be the youth group service. Perry will be leading that, along with groups from the youth group. Also next week, we're having our annual plant sale next Sunday. Plants are from All Souls Garden, and those from the garden crew, they'll be made available for sale. Cash, check, or Venmo, any way you want. And I was asked to mention that they make great gifts. So, also, if you have not been in the Peace Garden, it's really blooming out there. It's lovely. So before you leave, stick your head in there. It's really lovely. All right, enjoy the coffee hour.